Golden State Warriors are in trouble. They're currently a below 500 team, and there is a huge question popping out. Is the dynasty over? To be more specific, would getting rid of Draymond Green and his antics push the team forward and give them a fighting chance for the playoffs? But the problem cuts way deeper than that. Hello again, basketball fans, and welcome back to Hoop Vision. We'll take a second to thank you for supporting the channel so far, as we're getting close to that 500 subscribers milestone. We promise to work on ourselves as the channel grows to provide you with even better content and more interesting videos. Speaking of inner work, that's exactly what Draymond Green promised to do in a documentary he made right after the Jordan Poole incident. However, since that period, he's been suspended 4 times. Yes, you heard it right. 4 different times he's behaved in a way that forced the NBA to fine him. That must be hell of a self-improvement program he's on. If, by any means, you're not familiar with Draymond Green's persona, let us give you a quick recap of reasons why Golden State's front office is mad at him. First, in a shocking turn of events during practice, Green delivered a punch to his teammate Jordan Poole. This altercation left a stain on the team's chemistry and raised serious concerns about Green's ability to control his emotions. Despite his promises of growth and maturity, this incident showed there were many unaddressed issues that continue to plague not only Green's career, but the entire Warriors franchise. Second, Green's infamous suspension during the 2016 NBA Finals for kicking LeBron James further solidified his reputation as an immature player. Golden State had Cleveland by the neck, but Green just had to let his ego run the show and couldn't sustain himself until the end of the game. His actions not only cost him valuable playing time in a crucial series, but also gave the Cavs that much needed momentum to turn the series. Despite his undeniable talent, Green's inability to control his emotions on the court has repeatedly landed him in hot water with both the league and his own teammates. It's no secret that the big three are great friends, but if you're Stephen Curry, you must be annoyed by all of that. If Draymond was different, they might have had 5 titles, and that series lost against Toronto can be traced to some of Green's antics as well. Him and KD didn't have much of a relationship, but things really started going down when Green was caught yelling at him on the national TV during one of the commercial breaks. It started an avalanche of questions, and the media just didn't let that thing slide so easily, making everyone in the roster uncomfortable. Knowing how emotional KD can be, the whole situation was a big deal. He later revealed it was the organization's approach towards everything that drove him out of the Bay Area. But honestly, all of it could have been avoided if Draymond was man enough to approach him after practice and talk out the issues instead of acting like he was the second reincarnation of Michael Jordan himself. The argument that KD's injury was the reason Warriors lost to Toronto is valid, but as we all know, Durant was having issues with Draymond throughout the entire season. All that stress can accumulate in the body and lead to muscles not being flexible enough, which was ultimately KD's downfall. Although this may sound too exaggerating, let's not forget how elite basketball is at the NBA level, and that details like these can alter the outcome. If you follow David Goggins or any other training enthusiasts, you know that suppressing emotional stress manifests mainly through our muscular system. Imagine how crazy would it be if Curry had 6 rings so far. Who knows how many more they would win if KD never left them and actually had a respectable friendship with Draymond. But that's all stuff for our imagination now. The real question that just yells at the Warriors front office is, what the hell should we do with Draymond? His future in the NBA is as blurry as the lines in Robin Thicke's song. If he stays with Golden State, they're in trouble because he shows no signs of remorse and no will to actually work on his emotions, which means they'll continue to struggle and lose energy on dealing with his stupid behavior. There's also an issue of him impacting their younger players like Kuminga and Moody, who will eventually get tired of sharing the front court with an old, slow, and whining mentor. The problem is that Green is no longer that energizing facilitator he once was, and it's hard for him to accept the new reality. All he does nowadays is negatively impact the people around him, making them wonder when will be the next time he does something completely stupid and unnecessary. Speaking of accepting new reality, the Warriors have another problem, and his name is Klay Thompson. Game 6 Klay became 6 points Klay, and once Steve Kerr noticed that, he turned him into bench Klay. Unfortunately, Klay didn't like that one bit, so he's been throwing press conference tantrums saying he doesn't care about anything that's going on lately. But you can see just by his body language and facial expressions that's not true at all. A man who was once part of the greatest shooting backcourt in the league is now considered to be washed up and involved in trade conversations. What? No one's ego could go through all that and remain unbothered. All of this gets much sadder when you think about the fact his game never relied on his athleticism, but his head and confidence. Yes, young Klay was a much faster and better defender, but that has nothing to do with some of the awful performance he put up lately. What we've seen from him this season wasn't a lack of strength or speed, but lack of spirit. He just doesn't seem to have the same confidence, and it shows. He may be saying saying one thing, but he's doing another, and he's very well aware of it. The fact he's trying to brush it off with smirks makes it even worse. The whole fanbase will never forget his contribution to winning 4 titles for the Warriors, so they'd probably be like, "We get it, you had knee injuries. It'll take some time to regain that confidence. We'll cheer and support you until you come back." But to go out there and say you don't care doesn't do good to anyone. The fans, the franchise, and let alone Klay. What makes the irony even bigger is that his comeback wouldn't require a big physical transformation, but instead just an honest reflection and baby steps towards becoming Game 6 Klay again. Back to Draymond, the Klay situation is where he could have helped if he was sane enough to realize it takes 2 players to help out the struggling third, and not let Curry carry the team on his 35-year-old shoulders. When you have a super trio, it's usually one guy that needs checking by the other 2, but in this case, things are way out of control. Klay is losing his mind. Draymond has lost his a long time ago, so Steph is really in a tough spot in his career. He definitely wants to go after one more title pursuit, and disbanding the dynasty and trying with other players might be a logical thing to do. However, they still have enough potential that sparks the question, what if they got their things in order and actually clicked for one more? Would trading Klay and Draymond be too radical? The biggest problem with that is the timing, since if they continue to suck for longer, their trade value will go down significantly, and so will the value the Warriors can receive for them. Right now, Draymond isn't an attractive asset for any NBA team, so it's really difficult to predict any future trade scenarios regarding him. There was a rumor the Spurs were interested in him for the purpose of mentoring Victor Wembanyama, but that's highly unlikely to happen knowing Greg Popovich's coaching style and his lack of tolerance for players like Green. Speaking of one more title run, it's criminal how underused Chris Paul's addition was to the Warriors. You had a team that was living from making threes and allowing their big men to exploit all that spacing. Now you add a Hall of Fame point guard that has the ability to improve all of those areas, but the team still finds a way to create drama and fall below the play-in zone. Here are all the ways Chris Paul might have been useful to the Warriors in a perfect world. And yes, we know he's past his prime and injury prone, but there's only one point god, and if anyone can pull it off, it's him. So the first benefit he'd add to the Golden State is taking the burden off of Curry. Steph can create his own shot off the dribble, but there's no denying it's much easier to make a shot when you've been delivered a perfect kickout pass, something that Paul can do in his sleep. Imagine penetrating the defense and your kickout options are Curry, Klay, Wiggins, and Dario Saric. How crazy would that be? Speaking of Dario, he is one of the pleasant surprises for the Warriors and has used his minutes efficiently so far. Him and Paul are made for each other when it comes to pick and pop, and him stretching the floor could work very well when Kuminga is at the 5, giving the Warriors both length and shooting. But there's one issue with that. If Dario plays at the 4 and Kuminga is at 5, where does that leave us with Draymond? Yes, you've guessed it, he's on the bench whining and making Steve Kerr miserable. Instead of using Chris Paul, who's a ring-hungry veteran and a great addition to their death by 1,003 strategy, the Warriors were able to create even more drama than before Poole was with them, making us ask one more question. Did Golden State get rid of the wrong player? What if Draymond was waived after the incident and Poole stayed to develop into a third splash brother? Now that you think about it, Draymond could have been easily replaced with Pascal Siakam, but that ship has sailed. Who knows how different the narrative around the Warriors might have been if they had the guts to pull the plug earlier and make Draymond experience the consequences for his actions. Instead, they've been left with 2 awful seasons marked with WWE chest stomps and headlocks. Standing at 23-25, the Warriors are 11th in the West, and it's not impossible for them to reach the playoffs. But something must change quickly if they don't want to waste another season of Curry's window. It remains to be seen if the Big Three's friendship is strong enough to overcome all of the drama that's been plaguing Golden State for too long now, and make one more title run that would be a fairy tale ending of their journey. That's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the Warriors situation. If you can think of a potential solution for them, feel free to mention it below as well. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one. Peace out.